I've got an album. This was, I think, when I was about 11 or 12 after I discovered Comic World. It's like my own sort of like fake covers for Red. What I could never figure out about myself, though, is why, as a young kid in the 70s, I was so attracted to this work from the early 1940s, which was so far before my time. It's almost like it's a molecular or some sub level, subconscious level, past life thing where it's just I just love this stuff.
Today we have a very special guest, and it's Ryan Heshka. Everybody who watches this channel, and Ben and I, we love comic books, but Ryan has even a more special connection. He has redrawn many famous covers from the Golden Age. Let us know about how you got into Golden Age comic books.
There was two gateways happening at the same time. One of them was the reruns of the 1966 Batman television series, which sort of really, that just sort of entered me in the realm of superheroes. And the other thing was, it's this book right here. I thought visual aid would help, but it's the Star Wars album from 1977. And this sort of pulled me into a lot of different influences, like different movies like Freaks and things like that, Flash Gordon. But the one thing, and this isn't so much comic related, but it was this page here with these sort of pulp cover reproductions, amazing stories, thrilling wonder and stuff. I think that really sort of like turned me on to this forgotten, invisible realm of science fiction comics. From there, just going to the library, searching through the very small comic section that my local library in Winnipeg had. But it was pretty well represented. We had books like the Jules Pfeiffer. I can't remember what it's called.
Here it is.
That's the one. Yeah, great comic books heroes. Exactly, that's the one. Thank you. And I just got deeper and deeper into the world of the Golden Age. It really, the whole thing kind of cracked wide open for me, though, when I found out from my aunt's sister that there was a store in Winnipeg called Doug Salippa's Comic World. When I found out about that, it's like, we have to go the next day. I didn't know that there was a store where you could get not only comics and used comics, but also just all the sort of books on comics. I'm going to just slide over really quickly and have something that I wanted to pull out. I'm trying to find something specifically Golden Age. This is a little bit more Silver Age, but there's like my childhood page of like, Marvel comic heads. There's some Captain America in there. I've got an album. This was, I think, when I was about 11 or 12 after I discovered Comic World. Was this, I think there's a bit of a glare, but it's like my own sort of like fake covers for Red Raven, Submariner #1, Mystic #6, Yellow Claw, Daring. Like, I was all in on this stuff. And the more material I found, like I think there was an Overstreet price guide. It was like the first one that was really timely oriented. I think it was, I can see Ben reaching for it with the commissioned Schomburg cover. Once I discovered that, I got into it, and it's like, it has all those like amazing small, like microscopic shots of the splash pages and the color cover guide, or the color cover gallery and everything. And it's like, I just went like, yeah, that stuff just sucked me in. And it still does. In a lot of ways, I missed that time of like that sort of limited stream, because everything that I saw, every panel that I saw felt so special. And now I get so overwhelmed by the amount of material that's available, not only online, but like you can get like it seems like you can get almost every title like in some kind of book print, like Planet Comics or whatever, like all the Fiction House stuff, EC, the Marvel omnibuses and things like that. And I think for me as a kid, just being able to sort of see things little bits at a time, it really felt special to me. It really felt like, this is gold. This is like rare. This is like, it's the true meaning of rarity, not this sort of like, NFT rarity, but like true, like, it's like a challenge to dig this stuff up, to sort of be a bit of a detective. Where can I source out more? I was like a junkie at 8 years old, trying to like figure out where my next hit was going to come from, and that's, I think, really what drove me. What I was getting at is that really drove me to drawing my own material, because there just wasn't that much available. Once I had sort of poured over it and looked at absorbed as much as I could, because of my interest in drawing, it just naturally sort of like led into me producing my own comics. doing my own fake covers, doing character designs, that sort of thing. As Ben knows, I grew up in the prairies, and there was a lot of long winters, and I was a real, I wasn't a sporty kid, so as much as I could play out in the winter when it was like, minus 25 Celsius, which is whatever that is in Fahrenheit, it's ridiculous. I would spend a lot of time, drawing and making comics, and my brother would do that as well. So it was sort of an activity that we shared.
Folks who've watched this channel a lot, they've seen that Punch Comics 12 over my shoulder, and that's a print of a Ryan recreation. And so one of the things that Ryan, frankly, I'm jealous of you is that I'm a cover freak. I love classic covers. I know Ben does too. And we just look over those covers over and over and over again, trying to understand them, decipher different things about it. But we never have had the experience that you've had. You've had the opportunity to follow in the footsteps of a lot of these masters of the Golden Age and doing cover recreations. What have you learned in that process of trying to recreate covers like this one, like Punch 12?
I'm self-taught as an artist. I never really went to art school, illustration school, anything like that. From an early age, I started tracing and kind of copying comic book panels from Golden Age reprints, like fantasy masterpieces and that sort of stuff that Marvel was putting out in the 60s. And I was tracing the good stuff and the bad stuff, like the worst Carl Burgos panels and the best Bill Everett panels, and the great Jack Kirby stuff and that, but the best and worst of everything. For better or for worse, it really molded my own taste in art. I fell in love with that naive style of art, I guess. And a lot of the comic artists of the Golden Age were the ones that could not rate a syndicated strip in the newspaper. So they were like doing this as a backup. They wanted to be, Chester Gould, and they wanted to be Alex Raymond, but they couldn't cut it, right? Or they had a drinking problem like Bill Everett, probably just were totally unreliable. This has been said before, but what those artists lacked in technical skill, they made up for in energy and passion. And I think that sort of was my big takeaway from drawing, Golden Age comics, not only as a kid, but also sort of right up to, current day where, I'm doing either fake covers or reproducing classic comic book covers and things like that, or like the page that Ben obtained recently from me, which is the sort of the Dream Human Torch Submariner Battle issue comic page, that sort of thing. So the really a lot of it is just sort of osmosis, just sort of just absorbing, not consciously trying to sort of decode anything, but it's just sort of happening based on interests and passion of the subject matter. One thing that I love about the Golden Age is just the title, the comic titles. Each one is just beautifully designed in their own way. I mean, the Batman one is so iconic. The Marvel Mystery one is fantastic with its sort of like, large to small typography. Schomburg in particular, the one thing I've noticed is that maybe not so much in his earlier covers around like 1940, but once he sort of once he hit that stride of his like classic Schomburg, the classic Schomburg look, maybe around 1941, when he starts doing those like amazing like Submariner covers. When I'm reproducing those, there's nothing that he left up to guesswork. The foreground is rendered, the main subjects are rendered with the same amount of care and quality as like a background, airplane might be, or a little Nazi figure running in the background or something like that. I can't say the same for every cover artist, because there's been a lot of them where I've had a commission to do a cover, and I've found that I get into it and it's like, oh, like the artist really like fudged the face on this one, or let some stuff go in the background that I've had to make up. The early Action Comic like Superman covers sort of come to mind because I think Joe Schuster wasn't like, he was a super creative, very like amazing, creative person. But as far as a draftsman goes, there's a lot of fudging. There's a lot of things that happen in the background. The windows on the buildings become little check marks. The cars become little blobs with little shadows and stuff. So you start to, when you're sort of trying to reproduce something like that, it's almost like you're having to sort of fill it in and imagine how the artist might do it if they actually took the time to, sit down and draw a car in the background, or do, how would they do the windows versus the check mark. Schomburg is He really stands out because I think he's probably the one that I've done the most reproductions of. The Suspense #3, is it Terrific 5 with the buzzsaw and the woman tied to the thing. There's I think the Submariner 11 that we were talking about before, the one I did for you. Just on and on. All those covers they're incredibly tight and incredibly well drafted, which makes my job easier reproducing them because there's no guesswork. All I'm trying to do is do Schomburg as well as I can do Schomburg. I think the Punch one actually was another one of those ones that's a little bit fudged. There's like a lot of cross hatching, a lot of sort of blobby line work. Okay, I'm not going to treat this as a pen and ink drawing that's been colored, but rather treat it as a painted piece, almost like a pulp cover. Oh yeah, all those little dollar bills, none of those had any detail on them in the original cover because they're all really tiny. So I had to sort of go in and paint little little dollar signs on each one and stuff. You can fake it to a certain degree, but then when you blow up a cover to that size, if you fake it too much, you're going to start losing quality, and also then you're going to start losing attention.
A lot of the artists I like are not here anymore, so you can only read about them. And there's some questions I would have loved to ask Alex Schomburg or Jack Kirby. I get to ask Ryan because you are an artist that I admire. Collectors like me and Keston kind of connect to art that we enjoy, and which is way before our time. It's almost as if I have a Golden Age artist living here in you. So thank you for kind of helping us to connect with that and to appreciate it even more.